When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. If anybody has that issue, it's probably our military vets coming out of the military. And
Yes.
I'm sure you've heard some of the news about what's going on with Afghanistan. Everybody's angry with
Yeah.
leadership and all that distress. And, a lot of military vets are on disability. They sit at home, play video games. They smoke pot and they want to relax. And they have lost a sense of purpose and duty because they're no longer with their military family. They're no longer serving at their home, and they're trying to figure out, who am I? What's your message to those guys and gals who may be on disability and they have imposter syndrome? They just can't unlock that key.
Yeah. Well, okay. So first of all, my very first thing I have to say to all the men and women who have served is thank you. I mean, when we talk about emotion, we feel it in our body, and I just felt that because I have a lot of emotion for that.
Sure.
I wasn't on the front lines. I wasn't the one that was out there, but I'm so grateful for the people that do this for us. So it's easy to become disillusioned because we start with this idea of honor and serving and purpose, and people, be they leaders or others we serve with, or even coming home, civilian population we just protected, they may disappoint us, So first and foremost, I want to say to anyone that's ever been disappointed, military or otherwise, the motto that helped me the most was, people will disappoint you, but you should never disappoint yourself.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah, people will disappoint you. So part of that is then going to, what can I control and what can't I? It's not, I'm a well-informed person. It's not that I don't pay attention to what's going on, but I've learned to just set a lot of that aside. I've set the divisiveness aside. I've set the politics aside. I look at my world and I say, what can I control? And control is a bit of a myth too. So, what can I influence? What do I have true influence over? Where do I have choice? And let me focus on that. Now, the second thing, and maybe that was more than one thing, but the second thing I'd like to say is your emotional health, how you feel, matters. And you've been taught or conditioned through your life, very likely, to suppress those emotions, either because perhaps you are a man. It tends to be more of a male thing that men need to man up and be manly and not show their emotions, or that can happen with women too, or it was just that nobody was there to listen. Perhaps there was abuse or just difficulty in life, and no one was there to care or care the way we needed them to care at the time, or give us the words we needed. So first and foremost, I just want to honor you and tell you your emotions matter. When we're doing drugs, when we're drinking too heavily, when we're doing things to numb that, it's because those emotions have never really been expressed or honored.
Wow.
Right? So they get pushed and pushed and pushed down. And pretty soon it's scary to even express them because you just don't know what's going to come out. It's almost like, have you ever had that explosive rage or this explosive amount of emotions that come out? And so there are some very safe is a difficult word. I don't like to use it too much. It's like trust, right? But safer ways, techniques, ways to just slowly let them be expressed and remove them. And it's not that we remove an experience, because an experience happens, but it's not the experience so much, but the meaning we've given it, right? So something happens to, let's say we're in the same room, we're both 4 or 5 years old. Let's say we're twins. The same experience can happen and your takeaway can be completely different than mine.
True.
You might walk away and go, oh, whatever. Mom didn't mean it. She was just having a bad day. And who cares? I'm going to go play with my buddies. I'm going to go throw the football. And I might be like, oh my God, my mom thinks I'm a bad girl. I'm a terrible person. I didn't do everything right. So we have, and I gave a simple example. It could be anything. This idea is that the experience happens. You go to war, something terrible happens. We're all going to have a difficult interpretation or meaning we give it, but some might give it more than others. It's the weight, how strong it is, where it sits in our mind, how much it loops, how much it's hijacked our experience. So what we do is we slowly deal with those. We let them be expressed, but we also either let go of things that aren't serving us anymore in the subconscious mind. I do that with hypnotherapy, going in, or changing the weight of that experience, the interpretation, giving it a new interpretation, not at the cognitive level, because we can do that all day long. We can say, I know, but I feel. So it's when we do the deep dive and we can actually, at the time that happened, maybe I'm a 35-year-old man and this happened when I was 22. So we can go back to that, because a 35-year-old really does it, sitting at home in a fairly safe environment is going to have a very different interpretation of something than being in battle, right?
True.
So we can actually, we can show the subconscious that we're safe also. So I've had that happen. I had a woman I worked with who would wake up every morning like clockwork at 3 a.m. No matter what time she went to sleep. She'd go to sleep at 7 p.m. at night. She'd go to sleep at 11 p.m., but like clockwork. And she didn't know why. She could not figure it out. And when we went into hypnotherapy, to a hypnotherapy session, we realized that she had been married to a very abusive man who would go out drinking. He'd come home at right around 3 o'clock in the morning, and he'd either pass out or he'd beat her.
Oh, wow.
So she'd wake up because she had to be prepared to defend herself. And as soon as we were able to tell her subconscious mind that she was actually safe, that she didn't live with this man anymore, he wasn't around her, that she lived in a very safe environment, she was able to sleep right through the night.
Wow. Just unlocking that one.
Yeah, that was just, an example. But sometimes those examples are helpful.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground. I mean, the talents and gifts you have is pretty amazing of what your abilities are. I mean, you're an author, you run a business, doing consulting, and from your former corporate life to kind of taking your corporate life and now impacting the world around you in your universe with people you come in contact with, and other seeking you out, and you're very busy because there's a lot of people that need your assistance now, that everybody's kind of freaked out over COVID-19 and, this variant, that variant. Does the vaccines work? Do they not work? Everybody's scared. And so they definitely need your guidance to get over themselves and, get it. Like you said, there's a lot of misinformation out there and who knows what to believe. And that's another fear issue of overcoming that fear. Like, well, you got to have good resource to go to unlock the fear. And I just had an Israeli security expert. He just told me on the podcast, he said, the biggest fear these corporate leaders have are COVID-19, the spread of the virus, the Delta, the Mu, whatever it is. I'm not no scientist, but, we all talk about this information. And he said that's the biggest fear corporate executives have now, is just not knowing what they can do because nobody wants to get hurt by it.
Yeah, absolutely. We could go on and on. There's so many tangents, Mark, we could go down, but if it's okay, there's a little technique that I teach for fear that might be helpful. Is it okay if I share that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because we've talked a little bit about our subconscious mind, and our subconscious controls 90% of our life, and it's the warehouse of our emotions, all of our experience. But it's non-critical, it's non-judgmental. So whatever you tell it, it will believe. So if you say, I can do this, it will believe you. And if you say, I can't do this, it will believe you. So then that's why our thoughts are so powerful and the internal dialogue is so powerful. So what happens with fear is, and you talk about fear all the time, but fear is wired into us.
Yes.
And it's just really part of who we are. And it's meant to protect us. So in what I call the healthy zone, I refer to the healthy zone, but just think of like this healthy zone in the center. And as you get outside the healthy zone further and further, it becomes maladaptive. We're not adapting the way we should to a situation, to change, because we're always needing to adapt and flow. And so with fear, what I've done, what I've learned to do, and what I've taught a lot of people to do is to flip the switch. Because again, our mind also thinks in pictures and movies and stories. So that resonates. That's what we remember. And when we think about flipping the switch, generally we think about a light flip switch, like we just flip the switch on. It's like that aha moment. But this is a different switch. This is the switch that a train conductor has. If he's moving along with his train and he's gaining speed, if he needs to take one track, he'll flip the switch one way, when there's a fork. And if he needs to take another track, he'll flip the switch that way. So as you're coming up to that fork, at that train track, just imagine that the left is the track you're normally on. And that is where fear is right there at the fork. And that fear feels like nervousness. And that's the first stop. It stops at nervousness, or it passes it right by. And we feel the nervousness in our body, right? We talked about feeling the emotion in the body, but generally it goes right past nervousness into worry. What could go wrong? What are all the things that could happen? And the worry can very quickly turn into anxiety. And if this train has been going down that track for a long time, it may feel like it goes straight to anxiety. You don't even notice. You're just like on that fast train, and you just flow right past. I shouldn't use the word flow, but you move right past nervousness and worry right into anxiety, and it can become full-blown panic, right? But in the body, nervousness feels exactly like excitement. If you notice, when you're excited about something, you'll have generally the same feeling in your body as you do when you're nervous. So when you hit that fork, you need to just slow the train down for a minute, flip the switch, and as soon as you start to feel nervous, you get excited. Now, that track running to the right, the next stop after excitement is curiosity. And curiosity is very different than worry. Worry, you're thinking, what could go wrong? Curiosity, you're like, I'm curious. What else is there to this story? What could go right? This is really interesting. And you start asking a lot of questions, because it's not about the answers. If you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers.
Sure.
You get the best answers, right? So you start getting curious. You start looking below the surface, just like this idea of what sources can I trust? You start to even get curious about your own mind, yourself. Okay, why am I believing that? Maybe that's not true. Maybe I should stop and think about this differently. And the next stop after curiosity is creativity. And this is a really good one for any of the guys and women too. But guys really relate to going into their workshop, right? Guys like to work with tools. They like to have their workshop or their tool shed or whatever it is. Just think of yourself in creativity as being in your workshop or in your tool shed or fixing something. You got a project, right? If you're a business person, you got a problem, you got a project, you got to get it done. So just think about whatever it is that is on your plate from a creative place. Okay, I'm going to turn that problem into a project now. Let's fix that. Let's figure it out. And I'm going to just stay in my workshop until I figured it out and I feel good about it. So I go from fear to, no, not worry. I go from, I know this is going to look backwards, so I'll have to go this way. Instead of going from fear to worry, or to nervousness, worry, panic, anxiety, panic, I flip the switch and I go, oh, exciting. What is this telling me? Even when it seems bad at first, I'm going to be excited about the thing I don't know that's actually good. In fact, I'm going to get curious about it. In fact, now I'm going to get creative. I want to work this out. I want to learn more. I want to understand more. Actually, I'm interested in hearing a different perspective now. Could be really, really interesting. And as far as the workplace and the CEOs that you brought up, we're kind of jumping around a bit. I do actually a whole presentation about how to deal with imposter syndrome in the workplace and I called it a post-COVID environment, but we're still in the COVID environment. Thinking it was going to be a post-COVID environment. We're not quite there yet.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
But in a world of uncertainty,
sure,
where things keep shifting and keep changing, and unfortunately, there's a lot of divisiveness.
There is.
And that's a difficult environment to get things done.
It is.
Wherever you are, especially in the workplace, right?
Yeah, it's like I see human beings, they're trying to rationale science.
Yes.
And science can't be controlled. Science is science. It does its thing. It's uncontrollable. And when humans can't control something, they go into fear mode.
But control is a myth. Control is an illusion. So we never can control anything. So as long as we know that we cannot control it, what is there to be fearful of?
Bingo.
There's no real control, right? All we can do is influence, have discernment, make choices. And we always have a choice.
Right. A choice and a will.
Even when it feels like we don't have a choice, we have a choice, even if it's just, how am I going to respond to this? Or how am I going to allow myself to think about this? What words am I going to use? Really we always have a choice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The free will. I like how you said that. Fear is a myth. Or no, control is a myth.
Control is an illusion.
So when Michael Jordan was winning 6 championships in a row, was that just pure natural talent? Was that control? Or what was that? Or sure will?
Remember, Michael Jordan was kicked off the basketball team the first time. I think it was in high school. He was told he just was, should go down a different path.
Right.
Michael Jordan developed a very strong mindset. And he practiced incessantly. Practiced like all these, high achievers, great athletes do. He practiced, he worked hard, he took nothing for granted. He showed up when no one else was showing up. So he used his mind. He also used some techniques that I teach in NLP to get himself into peak state at every moment, so that these other states of fear or am I worthy? Am I deserving? I'm not going to do well. Those thoughts were not present. So he used certain techniques to always be in a peak state. I don't know, what do you do? What's your sport? What thing do you love to do?
I was a football player, basketball player, combat, more physical sports.
Yeah. So were you like an end? Were you a wide receiver? Were you a quarterback? What was your thing in football?
I was defensive, mainly tackling the guy with the ball, aggressing, stripping the ball. Attacking.
Yeah, so you're you're the attack dog. So imagine you're setting up. The guy gets the ball. He starts to make a run. And in your mind, you've got him.
Right.
Nothing is going to hold you back. You've got him. It doesn't matter what he does. You're going to get him. You're in that state and you do. You got him. What that feels like, right? In your body, you feel it. You can almost see yourself in that moment. You could probably pick one of many moments where you've done that. And
visualization.
Yes. It's not just visualizing it, but you can see the surrounding. You can see the other players. You can feel the grass when you tackle them. You can feel the impact in the body. You can feel every emotion you had coursing through your veins, right?
Sure.
So if you were able to put yourself in that peak state every time just before you went for that run, where no matter what, you were going to make it, you were going to win.
Exactly.
We're all over today.
Flipping the switch.
Flipping the switch.
Right.
But that is an NLP technique that we call anchoring. So we anchor in that state, and then you can even stack that for different plays and different moments so that you get yourself in that moment, in that state every time. And that's what Michael Jordan did. That's what Tiger Woods does. That's what all these top athletes do.
Okay.
That's why they're consistent.
Consistency from that baseline.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Holy cow. We covered a lot of ground, Sheryl. Whoa. Wow. So plug your book. When did your book come out?
So in a perfect world, my book will be out towards the end of, it will be available for pre-sale at the end of October. It may be early November. It really depends. Working with publishers, you have to sometimes go with their timeline, but it will be out soon. It's called The Imposter Lies Within.
And where can they find that?
They will be able to find it on Amazon.
Okay.
They can also go to my website, SherylAnjanette.com. Cheryl's with an S, ANJANETTE. So SherylAnjanette.com. Or they can find me on Instagram, same thing, at Sheryl Anjanette. I'm pretty easy to find.
You are. So you're there.
No covert operations here.
Like some other people we know about. And you're on Facebook too, right? LinkedIn?
I am.
LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn. Absolutely. Yes.
And then for the audience, we'll tag some of her stuff on our file so you can find her easily. If you have any questions for Sheryl, want to book a consult, or, she's open for business. And you do most of your work remotely from your home there?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. A lot of people ask me about hypnotherapy even.
Okay.
And I do hypnotherapy all over the world.
Wow. Okay. So Cheryl's a lady and a man, very successful businesswoman, author, imposter syndrome expert, author, and making things happen in Southern California, San Diego County. You love it down there? You enjoying life down there? Okay.
Yeah. Living my best life.
Living your best life. And you're happily married, very successful businessman down there, and rocking and rolling, having a great life, impacting the world around her. Well, awesome. This is a great show. I'm glad we could schedule this out, because Sheryl and I were supposed to get together back in August, but my client demand blew up in August. And so I had to move things around, but we made it happen for Sheryl. And I wanted to highlight her skills and gifts to the world and the universe, and help her out. And need more. The whole goal of this fall season was to highlight more women business leaders that are around that need to be showcased. And I've had people that follow my podcast know I have enough Navy SEALs and CIA agents, spec op guys and gals, that I wanted to change it up, because I know there's women in the audience too that need to be served as well, not just the military people. So I just kind of want to do a cross podcast to reach all audiences. And you definitely have a skill set that people need, Sheryl.
Thanks, Mark. So great to be here. I really appreciate everything, and look forward to more great conversations.
Yeah, and I think we went long on this one. I think almost an hour. So we might split this in 2 episodes, folks. So I think 25 to 30 minutes is the max. People lose interest after that.
You got it.
Probably to split this one in 2, like I just did. The other guy was an hour and 20 minutes. Like, gotta split this one up too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, that sounds perfect.
So if you need to reach Sheryl, we'll have her information on the file so you reach her. And thanks for your time, Sheryl. I know you're busy. You probably got other appointments to get to, but thanks for your time, and thanks for your gifts.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate everything.